is something that many across the world, so many impacted by this conflict, hope will continue. Rohan, if you do stay with us, we're going to move to a related development. And a former US soldier by the name of Justin Mishler, who is now fighting for Ukraine, has reflected on the ongoing war during a Lviv cemetery interview. Mishler expressed disappointment over the recent Trump-Putin-Alaska summit, saying that no agreements were reached and that he expects the war to continue for years. He criticised US aid levels, urging increased NATO support and the provision of surplus military equipment. Mishler also recounted being injured in a chemical attack and the harsh realities of frontline combat. We'll now have a listen in to some of those comments from former US soldier now fighting for Ukraine, Justin Mishler.
From what I'm reading so far, they didn't agree on anything, which is exactly what I thought was going to happen. I personally think that the war will probably go on at least for a couple more years, and I'm completely prepared for it to go on a couple more years, like mentally and physically, and how I'm building my group of guys. So I'm, not super surprised at all that it didn't lead to anything at all.
Well, Rohan, thank you for staying with us. We, of course, have to caveat these comments with the fact it is a former US soldier, but fighting for Ukraine against Russian forces in this conflict that has now lasted more than 3 years. But let's take a look at his statement. He's on the front line. He's experienced fighting in an area which is often not reported. There are, of course, restrictions on reporters on the front lines. Do you agree with his sentiment that this war isn't close to being finished?
Joshua, we have to look at the statement very carefully. That is, he's a frontline soldier. He doesn't see the bigger picture. What is important to understand is that people have traveled from Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Some have joined Ukraine, some have joined the Russians. And these men are driven by their own passions and their own view. But we have to look at the strategic, the larger picture, rather than the tactics on the ground. So my personal view is that if there is a greater understanding between the Russians and the Western leaders, this war can be brought to a close. And this flow of foreign fighters to join the Russian side and the Ukrainian side will diminish and peace can be restored.
Rohan Gunaratne, as always, such a pleasure to have your insights on the programme. Of course, so many talking points and further developments that we expect in the coming hours and days, and we will bring those all to you here on NewsX World. But